The United States, a nation that has shaped the world. But how did it all begin? From the bold strokes of the quill pen, signing the Declaration of Independence, to the deafening roars of the Civil War. From the first human footprint on the moon's barren surface to the joyous cheers echoing through the streets at the election of the first African-American president. These are but a few threads in the intricate weave of American history. Come, journey with us through time as we unravel the rich tapestry of America's past. Long before the first European set foot on American soil, diverse tribes called this land home. This vast expanse of land, from the sun-drenched beaches of the Pacific coast to the rugged snow-capped peaks of the Rocky Mountains, was a tapestry of cultures, languages, and traditions. Imagine a world where hundreds of Native American tribes flourished, each with their own unique ways of life. From the salmon-fishing tribes of the Pacific Northwest to the buffalo-hunting nomads of the Great Plains, the first inhabitants of America demonstrated an incredible adaptability to their environment. The Iroquois of the Northeast, known for their political sophistication, established a confederacy of tribes, a concept of unity that was unheard of for its time. In the arid deserts of the Southwest, the Pueblo people built intricate multi-storied dwellings, showcasing their architectural prowess. These tribes were not only hunters and gatherers, but also farmers, fishermen, and traders. They cultivated corn, beans, and squash, a combination known as the Three Sisters, which was essential to their diet. They traded goods and ideas, fostering a network of intertribal relationships that spanned the continent. Their spiritual beliefs were deeply rooted in nature, a reflection of their profound connection to the land. They viewed the earth as a living entity, a sacred mother that needed to be respected and cared for. Each tribe had its own creation stories, ceremonies, and rituals, all of which added to the rich tapestry of indigenous culture. But it wasn't always a time of peace. There were conflicts, as there are in any human society. These were often over resources, territorial boundaries, or personal vendettas. Yet through it all, these resilient tribes endured, their cultures and traditions passed down through generations. Their way of life was as diverse as the landscapes they inhabited. They had a profound understanding of the natural world, a knowledge that was passed down from generation to generation. Their societies were complex, their beliefs profound, and their artistry unparalleled. Then, in the 15th century, everything changed. The arrival of Europeans on American shores marked the beginning of a new era, one that would forever alter the course of history for the first people of America. The journey from then to now is a tale of resilience, survival, and adaptation. But that's a story for another time. 1492, a year that would forever change the course of history. As we delve into the Age of Discovery, we find ourselves aboard the Santa Maria, one of 3 ships led by the audacious explorer Christopher Columbus. This Italian explorer, under the Spanish flag, dared to challenge the prevailing wisdom of his time, embarking on a westward journey across the uncharted Atlantic Ocean. Columbus and his crew sought a new route to the riches of the East, yet what they discovered was a world entirely unknown to them. The landing of Columbus in the Bahamas marked the start of sustained European contact with the Americas. The scent of the New World, rich and tantalizing, drew explorers and settlers like bees to honey. The Age of Discovery was not merely an era of new lands and vistas, but a time of unprecedented exchange. Plants, animals, cultures, ideas, and unfortunately, diseases were shared between the Old World and the New, in what we now call the Columbian Exchange. Yet these voyages of discovery were not without their shadows. The arrival of Europeans brought about the decimation of native populations, ravaged by diseases to which they had no immunity. The clash of civilizations was marked by conflict and subjugation, as well as cultural assimilation and resistance. The Age of Discovery was a time of curiosity and conquest, of opportunity and oppression. As the 16th century dawned, the New World was no longer a blank space on the map. Spanish conquistadors ventured into the heartlands of the Americas, toppling empires and claiming vast territories for their crown. Meanwhile, the English, French, Dutch, and others followed suit, establishing their own colonies along the coasts and further inland. Each power sought to stake their claim, to carve out their piece of this vast, rich continent. Through exploration and colonization, the stage was set for a great transformation. The Americas, once isolated from the rest of the world, were now intertwined in a global network of trade, conflict, and cultural exchange. The stage was set for a clash of civilizations. In the 17th and 18th centuries, 13 colonies emerged along the Atlantic coast. A story of struggle, determination, and ultimately rebellion unfolds across the vast expanse of this new land. The English, Dutch, and French established these colonies in the New World, seeking prosperity and religious freedom. Virginia, the first permanent English colony, was born in 1607, setting a precedent for the colonies to follow. They were like children, learning to walk and talk, facing the harsh realities of a foreign land, and gradually growing stronger, more self-reliant. The colonies began cultivating tobacco, creating a booming economy and attracting more settlers. The emerging society was a blend of cultures and traditions, a melting pot simmering with potential. However, these colonies also witnessed a darker side of human nature, the introduction of slavery, a blight that would leave a lasting scar on the nation's history. As the colonies prospered, so did their desire for autonomy. The British Crown, however, had other plans. The imposition of taxes and restrictions sparked discontent. The seeds of rebellion were sown with the passing of the Stamp Act in 1765. The colonies felt the heavy hand of British rule, and they yearned for freedom. The Boston Tea Party of 1773 was a significant turning point. A group of colonists dumped 342 chests of British tea into the Boston Harbor, a bold act of defiance against the British Crown. This event sent a clear message. The colonies would no longer tolerate British tyranny. The First Continental Congress convened in 1774, a gathering of representatives from 12 of the 13 colonies. They discussed their grievances against Britain and planned their course of action. The idea of independence, once a whisper, now echoed loudly in the halls of the Congress. As the colonies united, a shared identity began to form. They were no longer just Virginians or New Yorkers. They were Americans. They were ready to fight for their rights, ready to build a nation of their own. The cry for freedom was growing louder. The stage was set for a revolution that would change the course of history, giving birth to a nation founded on the ideals of liberty and justice for all. 1775, the year when the colonies took up arms against the British Empire. The 13 colonies, growing restless under the yoke of British rule, sparked a revolution that would change the course of history. The Revolutionary War, a saga of rebellion and resilience, began in earnest. The colonists, fueled by a yearning for self-governance and freedom, were ready to pay the price of liberty. They formed a continental army under the command of George Washington, a man of valor and strategic brilliance. Their enemy, the formidable British Empire, a global powerhouse with an invincible military. The war was brutal and protracted. Battles were fought across the colonies, from the rolling hills of Lexington and Concord to the icy Delaware River. The colonists faced defeat, endured harsh winters, and dealt with scarcity of resources. Yet they remained undeterred, their resolve hardened by their collective aspiration for independence. In the midst of this chaos, on July 4th, 1776, a document was drafted that would forever be etched in the annals of human history. The Declaration of Independence, a testament of the colonists' indomitable spirit. This document, penned by Thomas Jefferson, boldly proclaimed the colonies' independence from British rule. It enshrined the principles of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, ideals that would form the bedrock of the new nation. The war raged on for several more years, with the tide of battle ebbing and flowing. Yet the morale of the colonists remained unbroken. The turning point arrived in 1781 with the Battle of Yorktown, where the British forces, cornered by the Continental Army and their French allies, finally capitulated. The Treaty of Paris, signed in 1783, officially ended the Revolutionary War. The British recognized the sovereignty of the 13 colonies, and a new nation was carved out on the world map. This nation would be a beacon of democracy and freedom, a testament to the power of the people's will. The United States of America was born, With independence won, the United States set its sights on the West. A vast, untamed expanse, the West was a land of promise and peril. It held the key to the dreams of a young nation, eager to extend its reach from sea to shining sea. The first steps into this new frontier were tentative. The Louisiana Purchase of 1803 doubled the size of the United States, adding a vast swathe of territory stretching from the Mississippi River to the Rocky Mountains. This was a bold move by President Thomas Jefferson, setting the stage for a grand narrative of expansion and opportunity. Yet this was not a land unclaimed. It was home to many Native American tribes, each with its own rich history and culture. As settlers pushed westward, they brought with them not only their dreams, but also their conflicts, clashing with the indigenous peoples in a tragic cycle of displacement and turmoil. The thirst for expansion didn't stop at the Mississippi. The concept of manifest destiny, the belief that the United States was destined to spread from coast to coast, fueled further westward movement. The annexation of Texas and the subsequent Mexican-American War added vast new territories to the nation, including California and its gold. However, the pursuit of manifest destiny came with a heavy price. It was a path marked by conflict, not only with the Native Americans in Mexico, but also within the United States itself. The question of whether slavery would be permitted in the new territories sparked bitter debates and deepened the divide between the North and the South. The displacement of Native Americans, the war with Mexico, the expansion of slavery, all these were part of the complex tapestry of America's westward expansion. It was a time of growth and transformation, of dreams realized and ideals compromised. It was a chapter that forever changed the face of the nation, shaping it into what we know today. But as the nation grew, so did its divisions. As we'll see in the next scene, these divisions would eventually erupt into the bloodiest conflict in American history, the Civil War. In 1861, America was at war with itself. A conflict, a struggle, a battle for the soul of a nation that would forever shape its future. This was the American Civil War, a tumultuous chapter in the annals of US history. The causes of the Civil War were many and complex, seeping into the very fabric of society. At the heart of it all was the contentious issue of slavery. The southern states, with their economy rooted in agriculture, were heavily reliant on enslaved labor. The North, on the other hand, was steadily industrializing, and the moral, political, and economic discrepancies between the two regions were becoming increasingly irreconcilable. A significant flashpoint came with the election of President Abraham Lincoln in 1860. Lincoln, who had openly expressed his opposition to the expansion of slavery, was viewed with deep suspicion in the South. Fearful of losing their economic and political power, 7 southern states declared their secession from the Union even before Lincoln took office. Thus began a battle of wills and ideologies that would draw the nation into a brutal and bloody conflict. The Civil War was a war of attrition, with battles fought on many fronts. It was a war that pitted brother against brother, friend against friend. It was a war in which the North, with its superior resources and infrastructure, eventually emerged victorious. But victory came at a terrible cost. An estimated 600,000 lives lost, countless others forever changed. The end of the Civil War in 1865 brought with it the abolition of slavery, a significant step towards equality. The nation was left scarred, yet stronger. The unity of the states had been preserved, but the struggle for true equality was far from over. In the aftermath of the war, the Reconstruction era began, a period of rebuilding and transformation, a period of hope and change. The Civil War had ended, but its impact would continue to reverberate through the centuries, shaping the United States into the nation it is today. The nation was left scarred, yet stronger. The late 19th century saw America transformed by industry. It was a time of great change, as the nation shifted from an agrarian society to one driven by industry and innovation. This period, known as the Industrial Revolution, was a time of rapid urbanization and the rise of big business. The Industrial Revolution brought about a seismic shift in the American landscape. Small towns burgeoned into bustling cities, as people flocked from rural areas seeking employment in the new factories. The countryside, once the backbone of the American economy, was now dwarfed by the burgeoning industrial sector. This era was marked by the invention and mass production of goods. The steam engine, the telegraph, the sewing machine, these were not just products of human ingenuity. but catalysts for change. They transformed the way people lived, worked, and communicated. Yet this progress wasn't without its challenges. The shift towards industry created a new social class, the industrial working class. Men, women, and even children found themselves toiling in factories for long hours, under harsh conditions and for meager wages. The stark contrast between the affluent industrialists and the struggling workers laid the groundwork for the labor movement and the fight for workers' rights. And then there were the industrial magnates, the so-called captains of industry. Men like Andrew Carnegie, John D. Rockefeller, and Cornelius Vanderbilt, who built empires on steel, oil, and railroads. They were the epitome of the American dream, their rags to riches stories, embodying the possibilities of this new industrial age. The Industrial Revolution also marked America's rise on the global stage. The country's vast resources, coupled with its innovative spirit, made it a formidable player in the international market. American goods were being exported far and wide, and foreign investors were keen to capitalize on the nation's economic boom. As we close the chapter on the Industrial Revolution, we see a nation fundamentally changed. It was a time of transformation and innovation, of challenges and opportunities, and through it all, America emerged stronger, more diverse, and more dynamic. America was becoming a world power. The 20th century brought two global conflicts that tested America's resolve. As the world plunged into the chaos of the First World War, America initially sought to maintain its neutrality. Yet the tumultuous tide of war eventually drew the nation in, marking the first time American troops would fight on foreign soil. The aftermath of the Great War saw a period of economic boom known as the Roaring Twenties. However, this prosperity was short-lived. The Wall Street crash of 1929 ushered in a decade of hardship and despair, the Great Depression. As breadlines lengthened and unemployment soared, the American spirit was put to the ultimate test. Yet, even in the darkest hours, America found the strength to rise again. The country mobilized for an even greater conflict, the Second World War. Pearl Harbor's attack, a day that will live in infamy, propelled America into the global stage once more. The nation's factories roared to life, producing the tanks, planes, and ships that would help turn the tide of the war. The war was not just fought on the battlefields. At home, women stepped into roles traditionally held by men, forever transforming the American workforce. Meanwhile, scientists raced against time to develop a weapon of unprecedented power, the atomic bomb. As the dust settled on the battlefields of Europe and the Pacific, America emerged victorious. But the victory came at a cost. The world had changed, and so had America. The United States had transformed from an isolationist country to a global superpower, a role it would continue to play in the decades that followed. The United States emerged as a superpower. The world wars had tested and shaped America, revealing a nation capable of great courage and resilience. From the trenches of the Great War to the atomic age, America's journey through the 20th century was a testament to its enduring spirit and its willingness to fight for freedom and democracy. From the Cold War to the digital age, America has continued to evolve. The end of World War II marked the start of a new chapter in American history. The nation was left standing as one of the world's superpowers, and soon found itself locked in a tight race against the Soviet Union, a period known as the Cold War. This era was not only characterized by political and nuclear tensions, but also saw an unprecedented focus on science and technology, culminating in the legendary space race. In a bid to outdo one another, both superpowers poured resources into their space programs. For America, this culminated in the Apollo moon landing in 1969, a feat that remains one of the most iconic moments in human history. Simultaneously within its borders, America was also grappling with its own social and cultural changes. The civil rights movement, spearheaded by figures such as Martin Luther King Jr. and Rosa Parks, fought tirelessly for equality. Their efforts, though met with resistance, paved the way for significant legislative changes and a shift in societal attitudes. As the 20th century drew to a close, the Cold War ended, marking a significant turning point. The world watched as the Berlin Wall fell, symbolizing the end of an era of division and the beginning of a new world order. And then came the digital age. The rise of the internet revolutionized every aspect of life and society. From Silicon Valley emerged tech giants like Google, Apple, and Facebook, transforming how we communicate, work, and play. This digital revolution, still ongoing, has positioned America as a leader in technological innovation. Today, the United States stands as a beacon of democracy and innovation. From the trials of the Cold War to the triumphs of the space race and the digital revolution, America's journey has been one of resilience and transformation. It's a tale of a nation that has continued to evolve and adapt, shaping not just its own destiny, but that of the entire world. From its humble beginnings to its rise as a global force, the history of the United States is a tale of struggle, triumph, and constant evolution. We've journeyed from the first people, through the age of discovery, the birth of a nation, wars, expansion, industrial revolution, and into the modern era. Each chapter, a testament to the resilience and determination that typifies the American spirit. As we look to the future, one thing is certain: the story of America is far from over.